Alright, audio and angle check. Let's put the camera up here. And okay. Just testing the angle. In hindsight, the cars behind me might be a terrible thing. Welcome everybody to episode 1 of a series that maybe will continue. We shall see. Let me explain the inspiration behind this series. I've been following a show since lockdown has started called CyberChef, and it's honestly one of the better shows that I've been watching. It's been helping a lot getting through lockdown and the curfews and things like that. And in the show, and I'll try not to spoil anything here, but in the show, there's a cook, and they're tremendous at fusion dishes. And it got me thinking, I don't think I've ever tried a fusion dish, and I felt kind of inspired to give it a shot. And so in this finale episode, which again, no spoilers, but there were some fusion dishes that were cooked inspired by the person's cultural backgrounds. And I think that's a really cool concept. I think taking two cultural backgrounds, or even more than two, that I have or that anybody has, and crossing them into one meal is sort of a fun portrait on a plate. And so I decided that this month I would work on a dish inspired by, well, CyberChef, but also by my cultural backgrounds. So, in that theme, let's break down the concept. So, in the theme of fusion, what does that mean? For me, it means exploring two cultural identities that I have. I'd like to say that I have more than just two, but I'm going to pick two principal ones that I'm going to focus on and bring them into a fusion dish together, see if I can create something a little bit new, a little bit different, So the cultures I'm picking for this dish, I think is going to be my German side and also my Quebecois side. I think they've both played a very big part in my life. Obviously, my dad's German, and that has been present throughout my entire life. And then being born and raised in Quebec has been extremely fun. I've always enjoyed saying I'm Quebecois. My French might not be that good, but nonetheless, being from Quebec has been very rewarding. And the cultural niche that we have here is something that I'm proud to say I'm a part of. And so I'm more than happy to include some Quebecois culture into this dish. I was doing some brainstorming on fusion, and I decided on a little bit of a checklist that I'm going to try and follow throughout the rest of this video. So the first point on the checklist is going to be include authentic recipes from both cultures. The reason for that is I think if you really want to highlight a culture, it's good to take dishes and take authentic ingredients from those cultures and use those in making this dish. So that's include authentic recipes from both cultures. The next point is make them work together. If you just pick two authentic recipes and somehow throw them in a pot together, it might not work. So for this, you still have to make it, two different cultures, one single dish that works together. And the next point on the list is quality ingredients. I think it's super important when you're cooking a recipe, especially one that's maybe a little bit more of a big deal, to use quality ingredients. It really brings it up another level. And so for this recipe especially, I'm going to be focusing on quality and also very authentic ingredients. Sometimes people cut corners, and I want to keep it authentic. I want to keep it real. Thank God, I'm right beside Atwater Market, so I have access to some of the best produce probably here in Montreal, second to none realistically. So quality ingredients, make the dish work together, make it one single dish, and include authentic elements from both cultures. Moving forward, if I think of anything, I'll be sure to mention it, any other important elements to put on the fusion checklist. But for now, this is what I'm working with, and I'm gonna go join you guys in Atwater Market for some good shopping. Alrighty, let's Let's do it. Before I forget, I need to come in the Atwater with a game plan, or else I'm just gonna spend too much money. So the recipes that I'm picking, the cultural elements, I'm gonna give a little explanation now as to where I'm going with this recipe. So the German elements. My idea is Jägersoße. So Jägersoße is an authentic German, and the direct translation is hunter sauce, but it's a cream-based sauce with mushrooms, some aromatics, things like paprika, fresh thyme, parsley is a big element to that. So, and of course bouillon, wine, and these great ingredients, a thick creamy sauce. It's typically served with schnitzel, and obviously I won't be making a schnitzel dish, but the sauce I think is really what carries a lot of those meals, and it's present in a lot of different places in German cuisine. So I think it's worthy to be highlighted in this dish. So Jägersoße is the plan. I'm gonna go as authentic as I can with this, and even I'm lucky to be near Atwater. They have wild Quebecois mushrooms, and I think those will be playing a part in this Jägersoße. So let's put Jägersoße. Perfect. All right, so I'm just editing the clip now, and the rest of it is kind of destroyed by the wind. So I'll just sum it up quickly. I talk about potatoes and how potatoes play an important role in both German and Quebecois cuisine. And so I want potatoes to play an element in the dish. Bueno. Putting it down, mashed potatoes. Okay, so now for the Quebec elements of the dish. Here's what I was thinking. I've been to Atwater before and I've seen duck. And duck meat is something I've always wanted to cook with, but never really had the opportunity to. And I feel like, especially with the Jägersoße, it's going to pair amazing. So I think it's a worthy opportunity to cook with duck breast for the first time. So I'll be going for that. And obviously, I'll find a way to include at least just a little bit of maple syrup to really go full circle with Quebec. Alrighty, perfect. All right. Once again, I'll see you guys inside. So I'm just outside Atwater right now, enjoying a little lunch/break. I picked up all the ingredients I had to pick up, and I'm excited to start cooking. That'll happen tomorrow probably. There's only a couple more things left for me to grab, and then I'm all set. So I'm gonna go find the rest of the ingredients, and that'll be that. Alrighty, ciao. Alright, so these are the ingredients for the Jägersoße. Here we have some wild mushrooms, but in all honesty, any mushrooms will do. Wild is maybe just a little bit more fancy. Here are just 2 shallots, thinly sliced. Some butter, of course, key. This is just paprika, salt, and pepper. And then for our liquids, we have cream, bouillon, and typically a recipe calls for white wine. Instead, I opted for this Quebec cider to integrate a little bit more of the Quebec produce into this recipe. All right, so let's get started. So the first step with the Jägersoße is going to be to saute these mushrooms. You just want to get some of that liquid out and get that brown color on there. So we're going in with butter on a hot pan. I'd say medium high. It's all right if it browns. Just trying to get all the flavors to impart into these guys. So we're going to go in with the mushrooms. Nice sizzle. And these guys can take a lot of heat, so we're just going to leave them there for a bit. Good. We're gonna go in with some salt, so maybe about, I'd say like a teaspoon or so. And that's just gonna help with the flavors, of course, and just some fresh pepper. And I wish you guys could smell this. It is actually unreal. But like I said, normally you can use normal mushrooms like button mushrooms or cremini. They'll do the same job. But obviously for this I went a little bit over the top with the wild mushrooms. But yeah, we'll let this go for probably 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll take them off the heat, and we'll be back to the shallots. So it's been probably 3-5 minutes now, and you can see they're getting a lot stiffer, and they're losing some of that liquid. So now we're just going to take them off the heat and into a bowl, and we'll save these guys for later. So just like this. Alright, so we're not going to clean out these little brown bits in the pan because it's just going to leave a lot of flavor when we do the shallots. Alright, so we're just going to go with the rest of our butter here, back into the pan, and we're going to melt that up. This time trying not to brown the butter. And we're going to go in with our shallots for probably 2-3 minutes until translucent and fragrant. Alright. Perfect. So the onions are getting pretty translucent now, and you're seeing them get soft. So we're going to go in with some tomato paste, probably about 2 tablespoons or so. So 1, and then 2. And we're just going to toast that up until it's brown. Shallots are browning. You can see it's starting to build up on the pan there. So this is when we're going to take our wine or apple cider. We're going to deglaze the pan. You're going to see those liquids come off the pan just like so, and into the sauce. So we're just going to simmer it down until it gets a little bit thicker, and then we're going to add our spices. I just have salt, pepper, paprika here. We're going to go in. Obviously adjust the salt and the pepper eventually near the end of the sauce to taste, but just a little bit for now. And once this is done incorporating, we're going to put in our broth. So that's about 1.5 to 2 cups of bouillon. Homemade is always best. Make sure to bring the heat up so that the pan doesn't lose its temperature. And perfect.
You're going to burn yourself. You're going to... Did that not burn you?
That's good. Oh, that's good. Tremendous. Alright, so it's tasting pretty good, and we got it on like a rolling boil. And here we have some fresh thyme, so we're going to go in with that and just steep it. And then a little bit more broth, I think. And then we're simmering it down till it's done. A little bit more broth. Perfect. So now just let this go, maybe for let's say 5-10 minutes on low heat. So the sauce has been going for a couple minutes here on medium, low. Now we're going to go back in with the mushrooms and just incorporate that into the sauce, not leaving anything behind. And then again, we're just going to let it reduce a bit more to finally finish it with the cream. So the sauce is looking just about finished. Now we're going to take our cream. This is 35% heavy cream. And nice and slow. Make sure to kill the heat as well. And we're just going to mix this around. You can use as much cream as you want to get your desired texture. So typically the more cream that you put in, the thicker the sauce will get. I also recommend when you put more cream to just let it go for a couple more minutes on low heat. It'll really help out with those flavors. So we have it on low, medium, low, and we'll do that for maybe 20 minutes. So the sauce has been going for a bit now, but it's still a little bit too thin, and I'll tell you why. When you scrape across, you kind of want it to ooze back in, and this is still running back in. So I'll probably let this go for maybe another 3-4 minutes. So we have some fresh Italian parsley. We're just going to roughly chop some of that, and we're going to put it into the sauce. So I like to just bunch it up. So I have a little bit extra here, and that's going to be for the garnish. Okay, so come over to the sauce now.
Cut it smaller.
No, chunky's good. Alright, so the sauce here, you can see it now. When we do the spatula test, it's definitely oozing. So we have achieved the desired consistency. And now I'm just going to go in with a nice handful of parsley. And we're just going to fold that in. And we're going to serve it up. Alrighty. Look at that. Damn. Okay, so we have the duck breast here. And as you can tell, it's got a super fatty layer with the skin. So what we're just going to do is score it. This is just shallow cuts. You just want to cut the skin, but you don't want to get into the meat. So we're going to do them about a ½ inch apart. So now we have a good cross hatching here. It's going to help render that fat. So now a generous amount of salt.
He didn't wash his hands before doing that.
And we're going into a cold pan. This is important. No heat on the pan. Skin side down. Heat on. We're gonna let the pan do its thing, and we'll be back when the skin is sizzling. Okay, so the reason we put the duck breast on a cold pan is so that the fat could start rendering. And you see, there's no fat in this pan, but the duck breast is gonna release some of those fats, and then it's gonna start cooking the skin, and it's gonna make it extremely crispy. If you just put it on a hot pan, you're gonna leave so much of that fat stored in there, and it won't get crispy. So we're just gonna have the skin side down. This one is pretty thick, so probably, let's say 5 minutes. And then we're gonna flip it. You'll hear the sizzling start to get a little bit slower, and that's when you start thinking about flipping onto the meat side. Perfect. So we're just gonna give it a little press, and you notice there's not really any sizzle left. So especially on steel pans, you don't want to check the bottom. You just want to let the meat unstick itself. And so here, it's not too stuck, it's not too bad. Flip it onto the meat side, and take a look at that. The crosshatches, as a reminder, we're looking for that crispy skin on the duck there. So now we're going to go meat side down for, on this one, let's say 3 to 5 minutes, looking for an internal temperature of 135 Fahrenheit. It unstuck from the pan, which means that side's done. We're just going to kick these two sides of the duck to really seal it up and make sure those liquids are trapped inside. At this point, it's super important to get an internal temperature. Right now, mine is at 80 or so. Kiss both sides, and then we're going to go into the oven at 350 until we reach our internal temperature. And we're going to go into the oven, skin side up. Alrighty. Perfect.
Perfect.
Say the bird, or do I say the breast? The bird's been in there for...
The duck.
The duck.
Breast and bird. Both.
The old bird.
Something off about it.
Representable?
Yes.
We
I
rolling?
think so. We are rolling.
Oh, we're rolling. Shit. Alright, so the duck breast has been in there for about 5 minutes or so. We're going to go take a temperature on it. We're looking for about, let's say 120, 125. Alright, so we have 122 set it. So we're going to pull it out and rest it for, let's say 8 to 10 minutes before cutting into it. Looking for a medium rare. Alright. Look at that.
I could not hear you say.
Crazy.
You want medium rare?
So we're resting it 8 to 10 minutes, and that'll give us a perfect medium rare, around 135 internal. Alright, so the duck breast has been resting now for about 8 minutes. We can hear the crispy crust on that skin. We're going to cut it maybe into 1/2 inch slices. We're looking for that medium rare, that red color, and then we're going to go plate this up. Very happy with the final product.
Cut.
I'll have to mute that.
Yeah. Okay, guys, don't judge me in my cutting skills. I think I'm using the wrong hands, and that's my bad. I'll do better maybe one day. I'm nervous, everyone. I'm very nervous. But the real secret is it's cold.
Yeah.
So now everyone, don't listen to me. Big fan.
Good.
It's really good.
Win.
I promise.
Woo!
Woo!
Alright, so quick little outro. I really enjoyed the whole process of coming up with the recipe and making this one. I was super interested and super engaged by trying to incorporate the cultural identities, and I think everything turned out the way I sort of wanted it to. So if you guys want to try the recipe, I will link the parts down below. Hopefully it's easy enough to follow. But anyways, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I super appreciate it. I guess we'll see you guys in the next one. All right, adios.